Everybody, Creative Katie, Karen Burchell here. Welcome to my channel and an art journal tutorial. This is part of the Break the Blank page, what comes next, but with this one, we have a texture technique twist, something I've never done before. So join me in my journey. So here I'm starting with a background that I broke the page by applying color using a brayer. Now I want to add some pattern to this, so I am going to do some stamping and some stenciling. Stenciling first. So I'm going to use the colors. There's Prussian blue and there's dioxazine purple in the background, and I'm going to use some of those same colors to do some of the stenciling. So off to the side, I'm putting a little bit of Prussian blue down. I'm grabbing a makeup sponge, stamping it off. You don't want too much paint on the sponge because the paint will seep under. And I'm just randomly putting this stencil, Flower Tiles it's called, from Crafters Workshop, on here. Or I just want to add pattern and interest to my background, some solid colors. So I'm picking stencils that they're not so fine and detailed. And I'm just randomly putting it on. Some of them I'm putting off the edge. That is appealing to the eye. Now I have this stencil, Winged Mosaic, I think it's called, but I'm not using the dragonfly or most of it, but I do have that little motif, that swirl in the corner that I really love. Now I want to lighten my background a little bit, so I'm using white here. Now the order that I'm stenciling, if I had done the white first and then the flower tiles one, it would give a different look. So play with that and see which combo in which order works better for you. Often I do put the white down first because then obviously if it's a bigger white space, it's going to show future stenciling or stamping. Love this swirl motif. And it's really light in the background. But I'm far from done. And quite often I tend to do more when I don't know what focal image is or how I'm planning on finishing the page. I don't really have a plan for this. So I'm grabbing some purple, and I think this is gray purple. It's a new one that I got from Liquitex. And I'm just spreading it on my glass tabletop. And I have this swirl stamp. And I will put a link to this. You can get that at Ninny's Napkins as well as some of the TCW stencils. Go and check Nicole out. And I'm stamping on top of this. I want lots of movement and pattern and interest in my background. Now I wanted to add a little bit of contrast. This was all too one-tone for me. So I'm coming back in with the exact same stamp, but with black archival paint. And again, every time I added a layer, that white, those big swirl white that we stenciled on, gets pushed back. At one time, if I had stopped there, they were very front and forward. Now they're very pushed back, where you can see they've added to the background, but you're not really seeing that they are swirls. So there's the background. Now here is where I deviated. Now I've been talking about those 10 ways of breaking the blank page, that you can use those in any sequence and you'll get a slightly different effect and it's a slightly different process. So for the very first time, I am putting tissue paper down after I've developed the background. I've never done this. And so I'm crinkling up this plain old dollar store tissue paper and I'm putting it in. Now what this is doing is covering up some of the background, which if you have a busy background, that sometimes is a good thing. But it's also, I'm adding a lot of texture here because I'm crinkling this up and I'm adding multiple layers. Now, I love using tissue paper as a first layer. It just gives wonderful, wonderful texture. And I've done it as a first layer where I've done it over the entire surface, but I've never done it on a secondary or third layer. And I've never done it with just a little bit. So this was a bit of an experiment. And when you experiment, sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. And in this case, I did both. I learned a lot and I won, but I'm figuring out how the process is and what I like here. I'm just applying fluid matte medium to it and gluing it down and adding more layers. And my goal here is I want that texture. So putting this down allows me to develop a complicated background, and I don't have to worry about getting into the texture or stamping or stenciling over that texture if I had put that first. And the pattern on the background goes right underneath. So that gives a little bit more cohesive look. Now my thought here was either putting it at this time allows you, if you know what your focal image is, to either set off the focal image by putting it in the midst of this, or by having the focal image someplace where you don't have texture. Because once you have texture, it's a little harder to glue things down. Now, here's the experimenting part. I'm dry brushing this with white, and I'm liking the effect, but I'm wishing that there was more purple or dark blue behind it. Because I see a little bit of these shadows of the gray or the light purple kind of peeking through. So I grab that gray purple and I'm thinking that it's going to be able to give me that effect. So I'm painting over top of this, and my goal here is to basically paint out the tissue paper, but use this lighter purple because I didn't want the page to get too dark. And I thought, well, maybe this is going to give me enough color behind it and then do the dry brushing with the white. But the color was off. It was too light. And I apologize for the lighting here. It has been cloudy, 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 and rainy, and we're using artificial lights. So I'm taking some of the blue now, or the dark purple, and adding it on top and thinking, okay, maybe that's what is going to give me. But because I've never done this before, and because, it is an experiment, it's trial and error. And I was just having fun playing with this process and seeing what I could get and filing away what I'm experimenting with, what I'm finding for future projects. And that's what I use my art journal for. As much as you want a nice final product, it's also about exploring. So give yourself permission to explore and fail at times. As I look at it, and I'm going in here, I'm still not getting the effect that I want. I'm coming back in, trying to put a little bit of white on here. And then I think, okay, I'm going to go with the dioxazine purple. Dioxazine purple right now, it's kind of reading like a blue almost. It does have a leans toward that, but it is dioxazine purple. And I'm painting that whole thing. I want it really dark. Remember, right at the beginning, when I put the white on, I wanted some of that dark shining through. And in the end, I do get exactly what I want, and I love it. So now I'm going to give this a good dry before I come in with the white. So I'm edging this with black. That just frames my picture and giving my ideas, because right now I know I'm planning on putting a focal image in the middle of that swoop down the page. I just don't know what it is just yet. So I'm putting the white on the Ranger blending foam and I'm running it over it. And OMG, I love this. That you've got that webbing, that it's making it icy, it blends with the background. This is exactly what I was going for. But I have the added advantage of I've seen other combinations and I will use that. This texture is amazing. But this, it doesn't look like something's just been added on top of the background. It looks like something that's been part of it. Loving, loving, loving this. That would have been amazing putting gold on top of this or silver. I thought about putting silver, but went with the white. So this right now I am perfectly happy. Just keep going. And I'm adding more white and it brings this up. You can see that texture and you got the swirls of the texture from the tissue paper and it's reading well with the white that's in the background and the swirls that are in the background. Everything just went together so well. Now I have this butterfly. I did spend some time going through my things, and this butterfly, it's blue with a little bit of a purple tinge, which makes it perfect for this page. Now I love the white, the frostiness of this page, so I'm adding white over the edge. The black didn't seem to fit. I wanted that kind of smoky edge. And I just wish the colors were showing true to what's in reality. In reality, this is just an amazing color combo. So I'm edging the sentiment. This is from my It's About Time sentiment pack that'll be coming out end of December from Ninny's Napkins. You can go and check out all my digital sentiment packs and art kits there. The link is in the description box. And I'm edging the butterfly. This butterfly, I'm not sure if it was a free printable or if it was from a magazine. It's just something I've cut out in the past and put in my stash. I'm getting rid of the white edge, and it's also kind of shading the top part of the butterfly a little bit as I apply the acrylic paint with the makeup sponge here. Remember, I want that focal image to stand up from the background. As much as it's the same color, now this page is about 8.5 by 6.25. It's a great size. 7 by 10 and this one are my favorite sizes. It makes for a quick, easy journal page. I'm gluing this down with my Liquitex Fluid Matte Medium. And I put a coat of it underneath and over the butterfly. I'm going to alter the colors and the shading of the butterfly in a minute. So I want to seal it. And one of the ways you can seal it was by putting a coat of clear gesso or using, I find just using the matte medium here works. I use this sentiment And this one is shrunk down to 50%. But I chose it because it's script and it kind of goes with the swirls and the feel of the page. Now I'm edging with black because there's a little bit of black on the lettering of the sentiment and black on the butterfly, and it's all working together. And that's what you want, different components to have something in common. But you still get that frostiness from doing the white. I'm making sure that everything is dry before I come in, and I'm going to use the floating acrylic shading technique on the angle brush, and I'm using black, although Payne's gray, which is a blue toned dark gray, would work well on this page as well. And hopefully you can see as I'm doing this shading how it is making that butterfly stand up from the background. I didn't want to use my charcoal pencil here because of the texture I had in the background. I thought that that would make it a little bit too difficult to use. Now I'm adding a little bit of the black on that brush. What I'm painting over on the butterfly wasn't black, it was brown. And there's no other brown in this. So I am basically changing it by making it black. And that's reading and working with the black swirls I have in the background, the black font that I have, just making it all work together. So don't forget, you can alter the color of your focal image if it's a magazine picture or a free printable. So here I am just tweaking the color a little bit. I'm coming in with the blue and the purple that I have in the background, and I'm doing a very light wash on top of this, just bumping up the color a little bit and altering the color at the same time. So you could, if you don't have a colored butterfly that works, you could print out black and white ones and then paint it the color you want it. Either you can do that before you put it on the page or after. And I've done that quite successfully when I've used just black and white printables. Now I'm adding some highlighting with white paint and the floating acrylic technique. I really hope you give this adding tissue paper after you've created your background. It is just amazing texture. If you're enjoying this series, if you like my tutorials, please share with your creative friends. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Follow me on Instagram at Creative Katie. I hope you love this page as much as I do. So to recap, I started this page, I broke it by using a brayer to apply colors. Then I did some stamping and stenciling with acrylic paint and archival ink. Then I added plain old tissue paper to make texture, to set off the focal image, collage the focal image, and did all the finishing. Thanks so much for joining me. Now go get creative.